High Wycombe was to chairs what Sheffield was to steel and Wilton to carpets, and at the height of its production this place was actually producing nearly 5,000 chairs a day. And it's very proud of its heritage. It's proud to be known as Furniture Town. But the reason I've come here is that this is the week when the nation celebrates the 200th anniversary of the Battle of Trafalgar, and High Wycombe has always been happy to use a special occasion to say something with a chair.
Now let every man
in the 1800s, High Wycombe's chair-making business was booming, growing to 150 workshops in and around the town. It was the biggest producer of chairs in the country. 200 years on, few of those craft chairmakers survive. But one of the last ones has gone looking for some ancient oak that was actually making history at the same time as High Wycombe was establishing itself as the chair-making capital of the world.
35 leagues.
This looks like a box of firewood, doesn't it? There was one of these alongside the old coal fire in my house when I was a kid. Only the difference is this is also a box of history. Each one of these fragments is a piece of our most famous flagship and was probably bobbing about on the sea off Cadiz in 1805 when Englishmen were really doing their duty. I mean, look at this piece. You can even see the yellow ochre which matches the paint on the Victory and the white here. Some old seaman's hand might have rested upon there as he braced himself for one of Britain's most fabulous battles. And of course, this lot's worth of packet.
This is the most priceless piece of firewood you can have. To give you some idea, that's about £700 worth. That's a couple of £100. If it was ordinary English oak, that would be firewood. But because it's got the provenance signed by the Master of Victory, then that's the real McCoy. It's a quite different character to modern English oak. It's darker, richer, heavier. It's, in a nutshell, it's superb to work once you've got all the rubbish off it. So it really is superb material.
Stewart Linford has used oak and copper taken off the Victory when it was restored to make a range of furniture to mark the anniversary of the Battle of Trafalgar. His limited edition Nelson armchairs with the spindle backs made out of Victory oak sold out. They cost nearly £3,000 a chair.
Those to make the cannon freeze.
It goes on the side.
Now the firm is using some of the smaller pieces of wood to extend the range.
Because this one's got a little wormhole or something.
Absolutely.
It's a nail hole, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And there's actually chunks missing, but that's the challenge of the Victory wood.
part of the character.
Part of the character, yes. And can you smell the tar? It's actually different to normal oak.
The wood which is making today's Trafalgar mementos nearly got burned in a clear-out of Portsmouth's docks. It wasn't until it was spotted by a dockyard craftsman that the Navy began to realise its potential. It was auctioned off, not just to make Nelson furniture, but for a tidy profit for the Navy.
Before they could make the chairs, they had to cut down the beech trees. The people who did this hard job were called bodgers.
Stewart Linford's enterprise is continuing a long tradition in High Wycombe of using chairs to celebrate great events. Something which the local school has been learning about. Stewart's son is in the class assembly.
I've found I've become much more of a student of history than I ever was at school by getting into the furniture business. And as a family we go and research great places like Blenheim Palace, and we go to HMS Victory at Portsmouth. There are many trips there. And we recently went to Magna Carta Island at Runnymede, where we're researching a chair to be made from an ancient walnut that was growing at the site where they signed the great charter of the Magna Carta. This country's so rich in history, it's all there, and we should celebrate it. This used to be a limb that's been cut off because the centre went rotten. You've got quite wide annual rings, about 1/4 of an inch wide for each annual ring. That's pretty big for an English oak.
In West Buckinghamshire, where the
History has not been kind to the chair-making industry of High Wycombe.
one of the oldest rural crafts in England still survives, but only just. The brothers Owen and Alexander Dean being, so far as is known, the only two genuine chair bodgers left working in the old way.
The local museum is a rare reminder of how the Windsor chair was developed and became famous here.
Well, Chris, these are the Windsor chairs that are so important for the history of furniture making in High Wycombe. The chair with a solid wooden seat into which the arms, back and legs are socketed. That's the definition.
A whole load of children's chairs here, Stuart, and yet they're still made with the same degree of attention to detail and quality.
Absolutely. Look
at
at
this.
the superb work in that.
Why, though, was High Wycombe the centre of chair building? What was it about the place that attracted the industry?
It was to do with resources, really. In Buckinghamshire, we've got the Chiltern Hills, and growing on the Chiltern Hills is beechwood, Buckinghamshire weed. There was a propensity of beechwood that the bodgers could cut down and make their chair legs from. And in fact, the bodgers really were farm workers who couldn't work in the winter months on the land. And so they were working on the land in the summer months and bodging and making chair parts and making furniture in the winter months. And in fact, right up until the 60s, furniture making was a seasonal activity.
Inside the shed is the pole lathe, one of the most primitive machines still in use.
What about this little one here, then, Stuart?
Yes, this is rather curious, isn't it? I mean, the Victorians had some interesting characters that were into correcting children of their perceived bad habits, and one of them was slouching in a chair. So this very narrow seat, very straight back, almost at right angles to the seat.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
And the famous Victorian gentleman called Astley Cooper made the Astley Cooper corrective chair. I don't know what size market he had, but he was a, product of Victorian England.
And so unconsciously cunning is their touch that even experts can scarcely distinguish between work done today and that done 100 years ago.
As for the Victory wood, well, there's still a stash of that in a Norfolk barn. It may have missed its opportunity to mark the 200th anniversary of the Battle of Trafalgar, but at £25 a kilo, it may be, like Stewart Linford, someone out there has got an idea of a way of turning it into a fitting tribute to our greatest naval hero.
We'll fight and we'll conquer again and again.